I can't remember exactly where we were, but yeah, I mean, really, all I'm trying to get you to see is that basically almost everything you say has built-in assumptions, and a lot of the time, the things that you think are entailed, just are not necessarily so. That's all it really is the punchline. The punchline, you know.
Well, I certainly agree, not necessarily in the sense that um, there could be like an alternative to there could be an alternative kind of mind. It doesn't work in the same way. So, like, yeah, there could be beings who think in a completely different way, but this is meant to be a description of how beings that are at least vaguely like us would think.
I mean, do you know that there is no necessary transcendental mind that knows all things and has revealed some things to mankind?
Um, well, I would say that there's no being for which the sentence "X does not exist" involves an internal contradiction. Um, but you know, if that's not what you're trying to establish, then I would say that that is uh, that being would be beyond our ability to think. Um, and then I just don't see any reason to believe in it. But
So,
eh,
is that yes or no? I don't understand it.
yeah, it's a no.
So, sorry. So, what did I ask you again? Just remind me because that was a long answer.
Um, do I believe in a necessary being that reveals things?
No, I asked you. Do you know that there necessarily is not a transcendental necessary mind that knows all things and reveals some things to us?
Oh yeah, right. And my answer is no. There's no logically necessary being. Is there a being who like is powerful and does stuff? On that, I would have to be agnostic. Is there a being that's like necessary for us to think? Uh, then I'd say no.
Yeah, you'd say no, but I'm asking you, do you know that it's necessarily not the case that there's a necessary mind that knows all things and reveals some things?
So I'd say it's definitely not the case. So there's no definitely not the case that there's a logically necessary being. But the word necessary can mean so many different things. That's why I'm giving you long answers.
Mhm. Okay, so I mean, so when I say is, I'm talking in the ontological, metaphysical sense, isness. So is there a necessary mind that reveals knowledge to human beings?
Uh, Logically, definitely not. Logically necessary, definitely not. For other values of necessary, I don't see. Like I don't see. I don't think there's any problem that solves. So for other values of the word necessary, then yeah, I'd say no, not necessary.
Yeah, but you saying it's not necessary. Okay, look, are things that people say necessarily true or the case?
No.
I would say no. That doesn't really answer what I'm asking. I'm asking you, is there a necessary mind that knows the truth of all propositions that reveals some things to human beings?
Can you specify what you're asking by necessary here? Because like I've denied logical necessity, um, but it seems like you mean to be asking about a different kind of necessity.
Yeah, so when I say is, I'm talking like, because I'm asking, is this the case? I'm talking like ontologically, metaphysically. I'm talking about an isiosity or an isness.
Yeah, but isness is not like the isness of a particular thing is not necessary.
Well,
Do
I'm
you
not. I'm
mean?
asking you a question, and you're saying yeah, but which is it's a warning sign. You know.
Um, okay, so I'm asking about the word necessary because I can think of like like two possible, at least two possible meanings for the word necessary. One of them I dismiss out of hand, the logical necessity, but then the other one is a kind of necessity. You know, the world has traits X, Y, Z, and in order for the world to have traits X, Y, Z, there has to be this kind of being, and that would be a kind of necessity. Is that the sort of necessity you're asking about?
Yeah, as I was saying, like, when I'm talking I'm talking ontologically and metaphysically. I'm talking in that sense. Is there a mind that knows the truth of all propositions, that reveals some things to us so we can know some things?
No, I don't think that's necessary.
You don't think that's necessary. That's obvious. I wouldn't even ask you if I thought otherwise, but I'm asking you, is it necessary?
Oh, no.
How do you know that?
Because I don't see any necessity of it. Like I don't see. Okay, so like real quick, like you remember the example I brought up earlier, the table and the book burning up into ash, right? In order to do that, I had to use space time, being, becoming, and nothingness. But I don't see God in there. So for me to think about that, I don't see God as necessary. I don't see where God could even fit into that picture. So
So you're so you're saying because you don't see how something might follow, therefore it's necessarily not the case.
no, I'm saying it's not necessary.
You're saying it's not necessary because you don't see how it is necessary.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to say it's necessary, you got to explain to me why it's necessary.
Well, I
Because if
wasn't even making it at this point. I'm just asking you some questions. I'm just literally, but those answers that you're giving are like non sequiturs, question begging arguments. It's nonsense.
I'm not sure how I begged the question there.
I'm saying in general. I've been talking to you for an hour and a half. All you've given me is just axioms, assumptions, question begging arguments, non sequiturs, you know, tautologies.
I mean, I don't think I have, but um, so like you're asking me, like is there a necessary being for X, Y, Z? Is there a necessary being that? So is there a being that is necessary such that we can think? I gave you an example of thinking with some necessary categories, but I don't see how God is one of those necessary things. And if God's not necessary for that, then he's not necessary in that sense.
But that's a tautology again. You're saying if he's not necessary, then he's not necessary. If I'm asking you,
Well, yeah, that
is it
would be
necessarily
contingent.
so that he's not necessary? I'm asking you, is it necessarily the case that there is not a necessary mind? I'm not asking you what you believe or think. I'm asking you, is it necessarily so?
Well, it's necessarily so that there's no logically necessary being. Um, like as for whether or not there's a being that's necessary for us to think. Um, I mean, I can't say yes or no to that without an answer, without an argument to respond to.
I need an argument to answer a question. If I ask you a question, do you exist or not? You don't need an argument from me to the contrary just to say yes or no.
So, well, yeah, but I already did say no, right? Like I don't see the necessity, therefore it can't be necessary. I don't see the necessity of having an umbrella to cook macaroni and cheese, therefore the umbrella is not necessary.
Sure. So, and you don't think that that's a formal fallacy to say, because I don't see the necessity, therefore it's not necessary.
Uh, well, I mean, I can just amend it to say I don't see the necessity, therefore I don't see the necessity. Like that's a like perfectly satisfactory answer.
That's begging the question. That's
No, it's not.
begging the question again. I don't see it because I don't see it. I don't see it, therefore I don't see it.
No, I don't see it, therefore I don't need to use it to explain what I'm seeing.
So what's your answer to my question? I'm saying, look, is there a necessary mind that instantiates all true facts. And I'm asking, like, for not what you think, but what is the case?
Okay, the shortest answer I can give is no, there's not.
And then your reasoning behind that is because you don't see why there would be?
Yeah, because I don't see the need that it's. I don't see the problem that it's solving. I don't see the what. I don't see what the need is. I don't see why it would be necessary.
Sure, but you not seeing why something is necessary doesn't necessitate that it's not necessary.
But I'm not saying it necessitates it.
Necessarily so. This is why I'm asking. Is it necessarily so that there is not a necessary mind? That's my question.
Is it necessarily so? Yeah, I guess I'd have to answer that it's not necessarily so. No.
Okay, great. Okay, fine. Okay, that took a while, but great. Okay, so you're not absolutely denying the Most High in that sense. You're not denying the necessity of a necessary mind. Now,
I mean, but I do absolutely deny one of the key traits, which is logical necessity.
well, it's a completely mundane logical necessity. It's just saying what, like that, if something doesn't contradict, itself, then it's logically possible. But I mean, there's a whole lot of nonsense that you could put in that category. Like you could be a dinosaur in a bed with a tinfoil hat. Doesn't contradict itself, but that's ridiculous.
That's true. But
Yeah, so you don't really, yeah, it's ridiculous.
but it is one of the classical arguments for God, right? That the sentence "God does not exist" is internally contradictory.
I think it would entail some kind of performative contradiction. If you said that the ground of all being, which is when people say God, that's kind of a colloquialism for the ground of all being, necessary mind, to say that the ground of all being doesn't exist would seem to entail sorry, I've got hiccups. That existence itself would be predicated upon nothing, and then it would have no referent in which it stands in causal relations to, and then
Well,
so it wouldn't have a cause.
well, the thing that the ontological argument is supposed to establish is the existence of a being, right? There's a being called God. It's not a ground of being argument.
I've made an ontological argument. You brought that up. I'm just at the moment. I'm just reasoning with you.
Right, but that refutation of the ontological argument, um, like in the way that I put it, doesn't have anything to say about a ground of being issue.
Either has the grounding or not.
You cut out.
Yeah, reality is either grounded or it is not.
I mean, honestly, that's
That's a true dichotomy.
just like the word necessity. The word
It's
grounded means so many
a true
different
dichotomy.
things. So no,
Foundation. There either is an ontological foundation for what is, or there is not.
no, I don't believe in a metaphysical foundation. No.
There either is a metaphysical foundation for all that is, or there is not.
Yeah, no, I don't think there is.
No, I understand that.
I will assert there is not. There is no foundation.
Okay, are all assertions necessarily obtaining to what is ontologically the case or not?
So the question, are you necessarily right? The answer to that will
That's a true
almost
dichotomy.
always be the answer to the question, are you necessarily correct? The answer to that is almost always going to be no, not necessarily. So can you repeat the question?
Are you is it necessarily so that that basically every time someone says, "Is that necessarily so?" that the answer is going to be no?
I'd say the only necessary truth is that things are contingent.
Right. Yeah, you're the guy that holds that everything is contingent and there's nothing that's necessary, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, except contingency. So every being and process could be, not be, or be otherwise.
It's just, I mean, that literally is a contradiction. That is what you call a contradiction, because, you know, philosophy, necessary means not contingent, and contingent means not necessary. To say contingency is necessary, all you're saying is contingency, or in other words, you're saying non-necessity is necessary.
Yeah, that's not a contradiction.
Utter.
It's
It's X, not X. You're literally.
it's a claim about the properties of beings and processes, right? So it's not a contradiction.
Saying that, can you give me some kind of formal argumentation that is not a contradiction, to say that non-necessity is necessary?
Yeah, sure. So, well, I mean, so this is about like logical necessity and logical contingency, right? So, everything is logically contingent because everything can be logically thought of as being otherwise without contradiction.
That's your argument, yeah? Well, is that premise one, or is that the conclusion?
No, that's the argument. Everything can be logically thought of as being otherwise. There's no being or process that you can't think of as being different.
Is.
You cut out again.
Understand what formal argumentation is?
Yeah, but I mean, I think what I said is pretty clear, right?
Yeah, but hold on. Yeah, but you're going to do that again. Like, say yeah, but one more time.
Yeah, but
I can't do this. You're too smart for me. I'm just going to move on. But I appreciate the conversation. That was really nice.
How do you know that?
That he's just going to move on?